The body's like an electrical machine. You know, a car battery has like the positive pole and the negative
Right.
pole. Our brain is the positive pole. Our spinal cord is the negative pole. When I feel the back of the head, it tells me what's happening in the brain actually, positive pole. And then I stimulate certain points of the negative pole in order to reset the positive pole.
Joining us today is Dr. Peter Goldman, the visionary founder of the Zone Technique, an innovative healing method that harmonizes emotional and physical well-being.
With his groundbreaking approach, he's helping countless people transform their health and lives. Stay tuned.
What are some of the things early on you started seeing people get healed with the Zone Technique?
I've had people come to me with serious liver problems.
Liver cirrhosis and stuff like
Very serious liver problems.
Wow.
Heal totally. People with IBS, fairly significant digestive problem, fixed.
I want to talk about your love for martial arts and how that has fed into all of this.
My martial arts experience had a big influence on what I understand about healing and what I teach about healing.
Why is that?
Well, two things. Number one, I believe that me feeling the back of someone's head for 20 seconds is a more accurate representation of actually what's happening in every cell in their body than anything.
Let's go through those zones. What is it that you're doing?
Well, it's interesting.
What is that initial step before you actually start putting the
I'll
technique
give you a
to work?
two-part answer to that. The first part of the answer is
Welcome to another episode of a Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada. And as you know, we interview experts in health, wellness, beauty. And today, we don't just have an expert. We have someone who creates expert. He's a teacher. He teaches on something that's called the Zone Techniques. Don't ask me what that is. You're going to learn from the guru himself. He's a chiropractor by trade, but what he's doing to heal people is just at a whole nother level. We have today Dr. Peter Goldman here in the podcast studio. Doc, pleasure to have you here, man.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. And it's funny you use the term guru. Guru, guru, from what I understand, in India, that word gu means dark and ru means light. So guru is someone who takes you from the darkness to the light. So hopefully I can do that with doctors and healers, teaching them about how healing actually works.
I love that, man. It's like the yin and the yang, right?
Yeah.
Yang. Awesome. So, Doc, listen, man, initially when we met, we were talking and I was like, oh, yeah, chiropractor, this, that, and you stopped me. You says, that's my credentials, but I do a lot more than what typical chiropractors do, which, obviously I have a background in health, wellness, functional medicine. So I'm always curious to know about all of these new healing techniques, or actually yours is not even new. This is something that goes way back, but it's a certain type of technique. So let's talk about it, man. How did you even go into the whole industry of chiropractic and healing? Let's talk about your story.
Sure. Okay. So my story was I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in 1967, and when I was a kid in Brooklyn, New York, growing up in, you could say, the late 60s, early 70s, and 80s, of course, I grew up in a very naturally oriented family. So where, most people, like, their kids would get vaccinated and they, go to doctors for checkups, whatever. I grew up in a family where our primary doctors was like a chiropractor, a naturopathic doctor, and a homeopathic doctor. That's what I grew up with.
Your parents were like big into that?
My mom was big into it, and my dad just kind of went along with it. He was, it
Right.
wasn't his interest. It was my mom's interest, and my dad was like, okay, that's cool. So growing up like that, it didn't occur to me that I would do it. I liked it. I didn't think to myself, oh, I will be a doctor or healer someday. And as time went on, life goes and things evolve, and at some point I decided to become a chiropractor. So I do, like you said, I'm a chiropractor in name only. I did go to chiropractic school. I have a chiropractic degree. But kind of cutting right to the chase, there was a very amazing healer / chiropractor / doctor named Dr. Thurman Fleet. Now, Dr. Thurman Fleet practiced in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Now, Sam, when you think of chiropractic, when you think of it right now, even if you love it, you're like, oh, I love chiropractors. You probably think, well, they're good for like neck pain or back pain or knee pain or shoulder pain or foot pain or whatever.
Right.
But if someone had like a thyroid problem or like a liver problem or a kidney problem or an immune system problem or panic attacks or anxiety or, some other disorder that wasn't what we would call a musculoskeletal disorder, or if someone had like an irregular heartbeat, you wouldn't be like, oh, you have an irregular heartbeat, just go to the chiropractor. It
Yeah.
wouldn't occur to you. Or if someone took a blood test and their liver had a problem, it might not occur to you, oh, you took a blood test, your liver is off, go to the chiropractor, they'll help you. That probably would not occur to you. But what Dr. Fleet was doing was healing everything I just listed and much more just with his hands.
Really?
Now, let's just say there's a chiropractor, a good one, someone, and, they went to chiropractic school, they know how to use their hands, but because they want to help these other things beyond the musculoskeletal, they, maybe they took a course on acupuncture and they put a couple needles in you, or they learn a little bit about herbology, so they might give some herbs, or maybe they have some machines in their office where they hook you up to certain modalities to somehow heal other things. But could you imagine someone, and how well that stuff works or not, I don't know. But anyway, here's Dr. Fleet, this guy who's just using his hands.
Just his hands.
Just his hands.
Okay.
Spending 2 minutes with a patient. So patient's coming in, it's just a flat chiropractic table, just using his hands, and he's spending 2 minutes with them, and people are healing from serious diseases with their, livers, kidneys, digestive system, glandular system, circulatory system, in addition to helping people with musculoskeletal stuff that no other chiropractor could help.
Wow. How did you come across this guy?
Great question. So, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, I mentioned we had those 3 docs. One of the docs was a chiropractor, which I mentioned, and he was a direct student of this guy, Dr. Fleet. Remember, Fleet was from like Texas from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. Even 70s and 80s, he was still teaching, but my chiropractor was his direct student, was his direct lineage.
Okay.
So I grew up going to a guy who learned from the master. That was my exposure to chiropractic.
Okay. What was the origin of the type of this zone technique? Like, where's the original? Is it from like Eastern medicine, or is it an actual Western thing?
So actually, it's interesting. So Dr. Fleet had what's called an illumination, and I'll elaborate on that. Now, it could just be wishful thinking on his part. Anyone could be like, oh, I'm getting these messages or whatever.
I mean, downloads are real.
Right. I'm with you, but I'm saying like some people who say they have downloads, like you said, are real, and some people are just making it up, or they think they, whatever. But Dr. Fleet appears to have had what's known as a real illumination. Now, he was a chiropractor. He did go to chiropractic school. And in addition to that, he appeared to have had this illumination where he was just downloaded this knowledge.
Wow.
So he got it from there, or I don't know where it is, there. He got it from somewhere there. Right. So sometimes people say to me, Pete, is this like, Eastern medicine or Western? This supersedes the Eastern-Western This supersedes the Eastern-Western medicine conversation. Not to say that that's not a valid conversation. Someone might say, okay, well, Ayurvedic medicine is from India. That's an Eastern medicine. Acupuncture is from China. That's an Eastern medicine.
Right.
Osteopathy was born in the United States. So that's a Western medicine. Chiropractic was born in that's Western. So there is Eastern, Western, and most allopathic medicine that we're familiar with, we would consider Western medicine. Right. But Dr. Fleet had a download, we'll call it, which superseded East and West. It was just pure knowledge of real healing. Now, here's the cool part, though. Let's just say, because we kind of alluded to before, anyone could say they had, an illumination or an enlightenment or a download. But the question is, what can they do? Because anyone could say whatever they want, but how good are they at healing people or helping people heal? Well, the bottom line is Dr. Fleet was getting healing results that were unparalleled. Wow. So he not only said he had this experience, but he backed it up by doing things that no one around him could do.
That's amazing, man. That's why I asked that question, because, people always relate to the Eastern, Western. This is like universe medicine right here. So, all right, so let's get more into this. So you had one of your healers, the chiropractor that you grew up around, that was a student of Dr. Fleet, yes. Of Dr. Fleet, right?
Yes.
And he became an expert, I would assume.
He was a living legend. I mean,
is he the one that coached you?
Yes, and I'd say unless someone needed stitches or had a burst appendix or crashed on their motorcycle, I'm talking about, this is emergency medicine.
Right.
He doesn't know what to do, nor do I. If someone has a burst appendix, hey, go to the emergency room. I certainly can't help you. If someone needs stitches, I don't know how to give stitches. Go to the emergency room.
Of course.
If someone, God forbid, crashes on their motorcycle, don't bring them to me. I would not know how to put them back together. Thank God they have emergency room doctors. But outside of that, if someone has, a severe digestive problem, a severe circulatory problem, a severe glandular problem, yes, Dr. Fleet will wrap that up. My mentor will, and so will I, and so will the students that I'm teaching.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about some of the case studies, man. Like, what are some of the things early on you started seeing people get healed with the zone technique?
Well, I'm not going to say some of them because people wouldn't believe me, but I'll tell you some others.
Okay.
If you want, I'll tell you some off camera, but there's some I wouldn't even say because people might be like, I just don't believe that. I can't even process that actually happened.
Really?
So we'll put those aside. I'll tell you some that are more palatable. I mean, I've probably had, I never counted exactly, but I'm going to estimate. I've probably had about, let's say 40 people come to me with atrial fib and irregular heartbeat. Now, if someone has atrial fib, a cardiologist might tell them, look, it's not going to kill you. It's not a life-threatening condition, but, do cardiologists have a fix for atrial fib? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the cardiology
A bunch
industry.
of chemicals. That's what
Yeah,
they do.
I don't know what they're doing in 2025 for them. But I've had 35, 40 come to me, had their bodies balanced with me in a month or two, and their heart beat perfectly.
Wow.
That's number one.
Okay.
I've had people come again. I'm gonna leave out some of the stuff, but I've had people come to me with serious liver problems. I mean, serious. I mean, very
Liver cirrhosis and stuff like that.
very serious liver problems.
Wow.
Healed totally. And this
Really?
is not just because I told them they healed. This is them going back to their medical doctor who's just bewildered. How did this happen? I've had people with serious kidney disease come to me, healed totally.
Wow.
Now, let's talk about something which is not, what I would consider as severe as some of that, but endometriosis, which is a gynecological condition. Now, if a woman has endometriosis, what does a gynecologist do? Well, first of all, nothing. But what are they going to do? I don't know, give them painkillers or, like you said, whatever they're going to give them. Any woman who's ever come to me with endometriosis doesn't have it anymore.
Really? And that's debilitating for a lot of women.
Right, because
the
the
scar
first-
tissue that it builds up and all
Right,
that
because
stuff.
the way I understand it, and I'm not an expert on gynecological procedures, but the way, at least it used to be, the way it was told to me, they would take a knife with a camera on it, do a surgery in the woman's belly button, go down to the cervix, and then they would look for the cells that were not to their liking. They would do some kind of cryotherapy and freeze the cells. And then, their endometriosis symptoms would go away for 2 years and it would come back and they do the same
Wow.
damn surgery. But when those people come to me, no more. Now, people with IBS, that's a fairly significant digestive problem, fixed. And I'm talking about perfect digestion, not
Wow.
like kind of their digestion improved to a degree. I mean, perfect digestion. People who are gluten intolerant, dairy intolerant, whatever intolerant, have come to me, can digest all those foods perfectly. And
Really?
even though I'm kind of talking about the non-musculoskeletal as we're exploring this together, even the musculoskeletal, which chiropractors are, presumably more comfortable with,
Of course.
I've had too many people to count. I mean, hundreds, but probably thousands, because I started doing this in the mid-1990s, who had severe musculoskeletal problems, disc problems, all kinds of stuff where chiropractors had tried and failed. Again, I'm not dissing any chiropractor. I'm for chiropractors. I'm only wishing them the best, but I'm just talking facts. Many chiropractors had tried to help them. They could not. And these people flew into me. Many flew into me. It's pretty rare for a chiropractor to have people flying into them from around the world, flying into me to heal their musculoskeletal stuff too, because this zone technique is so powerful. And I just want to add one thing in the overall conversation that we've had so far. Dr. Fleet invented something called zone therapy. I started learning zone therapy in the early 1990s.
Okay.
Having practiced it for several years and having had other influences in healing, metaphysics, martial arts, I altered it a bit and invented zone technique, which is different than zone therapy.
Okay.
And again, with all due respect to Dr. Fleet, because I love Dr. Fleet, period. I love him.
Right.
End of End of sentence. I love Dr. Fleet, period. There's no comma, but, that's it. With that said, Dr. Fleet did invent zone therapy. He was a grandmaster healer. I have invented zone technique. And if anyone looks at Dr. Fleet's books that he wrote in the 30s about what zone therapy is, and they look at what I'm teaching as zone technique, there's about 10 major differences. So again, Dr. Fleet's amazing, and I am teaching something different, which was based on what I learned from his lineage and many other influences I've had in healing and other things.
No, I love that because medicine is something that's evolved, right? And throughout time, it should only get better.
I agree
So,
with you.
so for you to actually take that foundation and create something that's elevated based off of your experiences, science, and everything else that we're coming across today, it's amazing. It truly is. So, only with your hands.
Only with my hands. My office is just my hands and a bench. Now, this is interesting. Let's just say someone said to me, Pete, there's this healer or doctor, whatever kind they were, and they use whatever they use. They have a lot of machines in their office. So when you come to their office, they hook you up to different machines. They do X, Y, Z. And they ask me, Pete, what do you think of that? Do you like that? I only like results. So I don't care. In other words, let's say someone's like, no, Pete, I met this guy like you. He just uses a flat bench in his hands.
Wow.
You must like him. I would say, I don't know. What are his results? Or they say, Pete, I met this guy who doesn't practice like you. He uses all these machines and everything. You must not like that. I said, no, I don't dislike it. What are his results? Because Sam, here's the thing. And I'm sure you can tune into this. The person with headaches doesn't want headaches.
Right.
The person with really bad digestion wants great digestion. The person who has panic attacks doesn't want panic attacks.
Right.
The person with anxiety wants to feel calm. The person with a weak immune system wants a strong immune system. So I'm only into results. I don't care what people do. I don't care if they're an acupuncturist, a homeopath, a chiropractor, a spiritual healer, an energy worker, functional medicine. I want to see who takes the person with IBS and gets them the perfect digestion.
Right.
I want to see who takes the person with endometriosis and gets them a perfect gynecological system. I'm only interested in results.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at that. Now, it happens based on the way I understand healing and what I do and what I teach. It leads to spectacular results. But I respect any doctor or healer who gets great results.
No, listen, I think the patients are looking for the results too. Right?
You got it.
And I do believe, especially the world that we've lived in here in the allopathic Western medicine, is people are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So they're sick and tired of just being treated for the symptoms and never actually the root cause.
I agree with you.
So, the results are definitely something that's a must. So, all right, your hands, that's what's doing this here, right? So let's get into the details. Let's get into the granular. Like, what is it? Let's go through those zones. What is it that you're doing?
Well, it's interesting. I'll tell you. There's a physical aspect, which I'll explain, because you asked about the zones, and that is physical, and I will explain that.
Well, before you get into that, do you do anything to diagnose what's going on? Do you use any kind of diagnostic tools? Are you looking at the tongue? Are you looking at the fingernails? Are you doing anything, or are people coming to you already diagnosed because they got blood work done or they got a scan done? What is that initial step before you actually start putting the technique to work?
I'll give you a two-part answer to that. That's a very good question. I'll give you a two-part answer. The first part of the answer is if they come to me and they know they've been having horrible period cramps and they went to the gynecologist and they were diagnosed with endometriosis, because we used that example before.
Right.
Okay, well, I know what I'm working with.
Of course.
I have to get them to the point where their gynecological system is totally healed. So that's part of the answer.
Right.
The other part of the answer, Sam, is if you think about a doctor or a healer, they should be able to do two things well. A, know what's going on with the person in front of them. You might call it diagnose. And B, know how to do something with that person in front of them so they can heal. You might call that treat them.
Right.
Some different, like chiropractors, for example, they don't like the terms diagnose and treat. So we can say analyze and do something therapeutically, whatever words they like. But the point is we understand when someone's in front of a doctor or healer, they're just like, hey, what is actually going on with this person?
Right.
And what can I do to help them heal? Okay. So what I do is with the zone technique, there's actually occipital fibers, and I feel the back of the head. And when I feel the back of the head, the points in the back of the head relate to 6 primary systems or zones of the body. And I'll tell you what they are. Because you asked about the zone. The glandular system, which is all the glands in the body.
Okay.
The eliminative system, which is all your eliminative organs. That's everything that eliminates your toxins, your sinuses, your lungs, your kidneys, your bladder, your intestines.
Lymphatic system, all that
Lymphatic system is actually in the circulatory system. We're going to get to that, yeah. The third system is the nervous system, brain and spinal cord and the peripheral nerves. The fourth system is the digestive system. That's what everything that digests and assimilates your foods.
Okay.
Stomach, gallbladder, liver, pancreas, things like that. Also the intestines, which was in the second system. The eliminative system is an overlap with eliminative system and digestive, but otherwise they're different. Again, eliminative system eliminates toxins. Digestive system digests and assimilates food, but there's a slight overlap because the intestines are in both.
Okay.
The next system is the muscle system. It's all your muscles, tendons, ligaments. And the last system is your circulatory system, which includes the lymph system.
Okay.
So every single cell in your body is somewhere in those 6 systems. And there's occipital fibers. And those who know how to do it, I do, and I can teach others. When you feel the back of the head and you feel the occipital fibers, it tells me diagnostically which of those 6 systems are balanced and which are not. Once I know
all by feel.
Just by feel. It takes me 20 seconds. And I'm going to make a statement which would sound like a radical statement, but it's true. I'm going to make this statement now. Let's just say there was someone. Here's an imaginary person. We don't even know them. You just walked in. They're like, hey, Sam, I heard you're a great health practitioner, and they need help. They're not feeling well. So we want to know what's wrong with them. Like, we know they don't feel too well because they know they don't feel well, but we don't really know why they don't feel well. Well, what are the different ways? This is very important, by the way, for your viewers and listeners. This is very important. What are the ways to determine what's wrong with them? Well, you mentioned the allopathic model. We could check them into a local hospital, and they could just, like, right in this neighborhood we're in now, there's probably some hospital, in Fort Lauderdale or whatever, and they'll do blood tests, whatever they do, and after a week, the medical doctors will say, here's what's wrong with you. That's how they're analyzing the body. Okay. How accurate that is, I don't know, but that's that.
It's a broken medical system.
Totally.
I'll say it.
Right. Then we might take them to an acupuncturist. This guy, he practiced in China for 30 years, but he moved to Florida, and he has an office here.
Right.
And an acupuncturist will feel the pulse, but not the way we feel the pulse. They actually, when they feel the pulse, are checking all your organs. They feel the pulse in a different way.
Right.
And they're looking at your tongue. So a good acupuncturist will look at the tongue and feel the pulse and say, here's what's going on with you.
Right.
They'll say there's certain energy channels that are blocked. I think they call them meridians, and they'll put the needles in to open the meridians. And acupuncture's been around for 2,500 years, so it must be doing something right. The point is, that's how they're analyzing the person. Okay. Then you have a homeopath. A homeopath takes a very detailed history. Actually, if you go to a classical homeopath, with kind of homeopathy, the first interview is 2 to 3 hours long. They just sit there for 2 to 3 hours, and they're not even examining you, most likely. They're just listening to everything about your life.
Lifestyle, what you eat, how if you move your body, all of that stuff, right?
It's so specific, man. It's so specific. They'll literally be asking you like, hey, Sam, do you prefer the beach or the mountains? Sam, do you like salty food? Do you like to put salt on your food, or you don't like to?
Right.
Sam, do you crave sweets? Sam, when you come home at night, do you like to just relax, have a little quiet time, or you like to just start, put that? Every little part of you, mentally, emotionally, and physically, they're noting these very good homeopaths, and then they create this big history. They get this history from you, and that's how they're determining what homeopathy to give you. My point is, you have the medical doctor doing the blood tests, the acupuncturist looking at the tongue and the pulse, the homeopath taking this long history. They're all trying to evaluate what is going on with this person in front of me.
Right.
The way I do that, I don't look at the tongue or feel the pulse. I don't take a blood test. I don't take a 3-hour history. I feel the back of the head for 20 seconds. And I said before, I'm going to make what would be considered a radical comment. But I learned to feel the back of the head in 1993. And I can tell you, I believe that me feeling the back of someone's head for 20 seconds is a more accurate representation of actually what's happening in every cell in their body than anything.
Really?
I will take them to the best hospital, let them work up blood, whatever they're going to do, blood test, whatever, for a week, 2 weeks, and let me feel the back of someone's head for 20 seconds. I have more faith in me feeling the head for 20 seconds to actually know what's happening in their body. So
I'm ready for you to touch the back of my head right now, man.
So that's that. Now, once I feel the back of the head and I know what's happening in their glands, elimination, nerve, digestion, muscle circulation, we talked about the 6 zones. Then there's certain points in the spinal cord that I gently stimulate in order to affect the system in question. The body's like an electrical machine. You know, a car battery has like the positive pole and the negative pole. Our brain is the positive pole. Our spinal cord is the negative pole. Real simple. The brain is the positive pole. The spinal cord is the negative pole. So when I feel the back of the head, it tells me what's happening in the brain, actually, the positive pole. And then I stimulate certain points of the negative pole in order to reset the positive pole. By the way, I'm giving you a very, an hour-long subject in like 2 sentences, but that's what happens, which is why, believe it or not, that stimulation of the cord can be done with a chiropractic adjustment. It could be done with a light touch. It could be done with an instrument if someone likes to do that. That's why in my school, I teach chiropractors, acupuncturists, osteopaths, medical doctors, energy workers, massage therapists, physical therapists, any doctor or healer I will teach, because I'll show them how to feel the head and I'll show them how to work on the spinal cord in order to balance the body. So that's rewinding about 5 minutes when I said there's different aspects to what I do. So there is that physical aspect of the zones, which I just gave you a quick rundown of. But there's a metaphysical component. There's another component that goes beyond the physical. Carlos was joking around before. He's like, Pete, when I met you and shook your hand, I felt like I healed. And I don't know if he was half kidding or kind of kidding, but if you really know how healing works, you can do that. Listen, I would actually say this. Take a chiropractor who doesn't understand anything that I teach and they crack your back and, they're pretty good. And then take someone who really understands what I teach and just shakes your hand. I would take that to heal.
Wow.
Nothing else, not even do the zones or nothing. There's a non-physical component of healing, which all these doctors and healers are tapping into, whether they know it or not. But if you know about it and you can tap into it on purpose, you can get results that the world would call miraculous.
Let's talk about that, because you talk about other healers tapping into different types of healing processes, right? Why would a medical doctor, an acupuncturist, these people, or a naturopathic doctor that have gone to school for so many years, right, say, you know what, I got to figure out something else to heal my patients, and then come to your class?
Well, here's the thing. Let me start by saying I don't know, of course, because I don't know what makes people tick. Who knows what they're after? Okay, we only know when they sign up. We only know, listen, my school is an online program. I do teach in-person events. Every month I'm teaching somewhere in the world. I just taught in Germany and UK. I teach all over the US and the world. However, the actual program is an online program. So like you mentioned, why would a naturopath, why would a medical doctor, why would these people sign up for my online program? Because again, the way to learn is the online program. The in-person events, I would say, are optional and supplemental.
Right.
I'm sure you'll put the website up. If anyone wants to go to the website, they can
of course
learn about it and they can sign up. Okay. They can not only sign up for the online program, they can see where I'm teaching and come. But back to the actual question. When you asked that question, something came to mind, which I'll tell you. I was in practice. I started practicing in the mid-1990s. There was this one time I was in practice and a patient came into me and they told me they had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. They had pretty bad digestive problems. Again, I would not call it a life-threatening condition, but it's annoying, when you, imagine every time they eat food, they're nervous of what's going to happen. Because you imagine every time they put food in their mouth, they think that they're going to get diarrhea 10 minutes later. That's not a pleasant,
not at all.
experience. Or, their friends like, oh, let's all go to this restaurant. But they're like, oh, can I go? They're thinking, can I go to the restaurant? Because then they sit down and have their salad. I have to go to the bathroom. It's like, it's not pleasant.
No, listen, I've been around people like that. I had a guy that I worked with at the fire department. He was one of the lieutenants, and he had IBS. And he used to actually have to bring toilet paper on the truck. Because if we get a 911 call and all of a sudden something hits, he had a basket in the back, toilet paper, and he just had to go.
Right, exactly. Or if it's not as severe, but just they get like a stomach ache every time. Also not pleasant. Like they're sitting down having their breakfast at home, ready to go to work, and they know by the time they get to work, they have a stomach ache.
Yeah.
Then their friends at work are like, oh, let's all go to this place for lunch. And they kind of go, but they know when they get back to their desk, it's not pleasant, right? Okay. So my point is, this person came to me with IBS. I'm very successful with that. I think they got referred to me by their friend who came to me with IBS, who was helped. I don't remember how they came to me, but they did. And after about a month, they were better. Their digestion was healed. Maybe it was a month and a half. I don't remember, but their digestion was healed, which is what I expected, of course. But listen to this, and this answers your question. Listen to this. So then I get this new patient come in. It was this very nice woman who was a medical doctor who worked at Kaiser, which is kind of a hospital that it depends what part of the country you're in, but where I was at that time, Kaiser was one of the hospitals. And this woman, very nice lady, was a medical doctor, and she was a gastroenterologist working at Kaiser. And this patient who had come to me and healed went to her first and couldn't heal. So then after the patient came to me and healed, went back and said, I went to this guy, Dr. Pete. I don't know what he's doing, but, they're all better. So she was so fascinated. She came to me as a patient because she's thinking, here's a person with IBS. She's a gastroenterologist. That's a digestion doctor.
Right.
And she can't help them, but Dr. Pete fixed the person all the way. So she not only came to me as a patient, she joined my school. So that's an example of someone who would join my school if they're just, now, with that said, here's the trip though. Here's the trip. And I'm not going to conclude anything from this because, I don't want to make assumptions about people. I don't know, but I'll tell you the story. Woman came into me, this is a long time ago, with endometriosis. I mentioned that condition. The gynecologist said they were going to do that surgery that I mentioned with the belly button and the camera and whatever. Right. She came to me, I don't know if it was 5 weeks or so. She was totally healed. The gynecologist examined her again. Everything healed, like looked at, whatever. They looked at her cervix. However they look at cervixes, I don't know how they do. The gynecologist was so bewildered. How does this heal? Like, this is not supposed to heal. This is like, quote, incurable. How does this heal? I don't know, this guy, Dr. Pete, whatever. So this gynecologist called me up and was asking me like what I did. And I told her. And you would think she would have joined, but she had no interest. So again, in fact, she was quite unfriendly too. She was like, almost like upset with me. My point is, who knows? Like, why does one MD say, man, I want to learn how to be a better healer, and one doesn't? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Zone School right now has about 1,500 members worldwide. So there's 50, and I'd say 70% of them are chiropractors, and 30% of them are other types of doctors and healers. I guess that I don't know what 70% of 1,500 is, but whatever that is, I guess those chiropractors just wanted better results, because a lot of chiropractors, think about this, Sam, this is I'm glad we're on the subject. Your average even a good chiropractor, let's say you're like, no, I know a chiropractor, he or she is really good. They are really good. They might just use their hands, they might use some machines in their office, whatever. They're probably pretty confident on musculoskeletal. If someone has neck or back pain, they're probably pretty good.
Yeah.
They're probably not too confident on non-musculoskeletal. Now, don't get me wrong. If someone practices chiropractic for 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to get your miracles here and there. Say, man, this lady came in for neck pain, and I was working on her neck, and then her sinus infections went away. I mean, it happens here and there, hit or miss. So let's say they're kind of confident on non-muscular, not really, they're kind of confident. All I can tell you, Sam, is if they learn from me, as good as they are with musculoskeletal, which I said they're probably pretty good, they're going to get a lot better.
Really?
And
wow.
And as kind of semi-confident as they are with a non-musculoskeletal, they're going to get really great. So again, the chiropractor, to do your original question, why would someone want to learn this? The chiropractor who's like, I want to get better. They went to chiropractic school for 4 years. They've learned whatever techniques, whatever seminars, whatever they're doing. But they're like, man, Pete is getting unparalleled results and he's teaching people how to do it and they want to learn. Or there might be some chiropractor who's like, no, I don't care. Like, I'm happy. I don't want, which is fine. I'm not passing judgment. Hey, you're happy. I wish you the best. And I wish your patients the best.
The personal injury chiropractor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is not for them. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't want to make any assumptions on what makes someone tick. But all I know is the ones who want to be more effective and better doctors and healers join my program.
I would say that, man. It's being in the functional medicine space, or this is stuff that they don't teach in traditional medical school. The MDs and DOs that go there are people that are very passionate about healing people. That they're the current system is not doing it for them. They know it's a Band-Aid. So they're trying to figure out what else is out there, right? They want to know, are there things in the bioquantum world that help, through these different frequencies and things of what we could do with our patients. They want to know, are there other type of treatments, supplementation, nutrients that your body needs, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, things of that nature. So I can see a lot of the MDs and DOs and nurse practitioners and PAs and a lot of the naturopaths that I've known for many years wanting to learn what you do.
And actually, that whole list that you just listed out, all those types of professions are in my school.
That's amazing.
And loving it. I had this one MD call me up. I think she was like in Africa. I think she was in like South Africa, if I'm remembering correctly. This is an MD, like a regular, not even what I would call a holistic MD, just like a straight up MD. And she called me. She's like, I just want to say, like, you changed my life. She's like, wow. I'm doing things now and helping people I never could have helped before. That was great to hear from a medical doctor. Wow. I mean, I've heard that 500 times from chiropractors. That's right. Common. But to have an MD tell me that, it was nice to hear.
Yeah, it's like a blessing.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of acupuncturists tell me that too. And these are acupuncturists who already were good. They say, Pete, I was already a very effective acupuncturist. I already helped a lot of people, but now I'm helping people I never could have helped before.
Yeah. Doc, so, obviously you have a history and a passion for martial arts. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine the people that you connect with in martial arts with the technique that you have, the zone technique, what you can do with those individuals. So I want to talk about, your love for martial arts and how that has fed into all of this, the discipline and everything else.
Sure. Well, my path with martial arts, I don't know, how many people are aware of the history of New York City, but like I said, I was born in 1967. So imagine, I don't know, let's say by the time I'm 8, that's when you start kind of like you're hanging out by yourself. When you're 3 years old, your
head was always on a swivel.
Right, exactly. When you're 2 years old, your mom's like holding your hand or your dad's holding your hand. But by the time you're 8, now you're kind of on the street by yourself. So anyone who, you could just go to ChatGPT, just be like, hey, ChatGPT, how dangerous was Brooklyn, New York in the 1970s and 80s? Just ask ChatGPT for those who are not.
Some of the best movies are from that time.
That's right. It was a treacherous place. Yeah, so I grew up in a very dangerous environment. Now again, thankfully, I had loving parents. I had a safe home. I liked coming home. I wasn't. That was good. However, when I walked out the front door, Brooklyn was just treacherous. Right. Pretty much 7 days a week, something happened, something happened, So at some point you have to learn how to defend yourself.
Right.
So I just took martial arts. I think I started when I was 10 just to survive, quite frankly. I was just trying to survive. And it's funny because I look back, it's like, you look back when you're a kid, you don't really evaluate things because things are just like happening. So but when you're an adult, you're like, man, when I was a kid, you're like, you start thinking about these things that happen and you're like, almost laughing. I remember I went to this, martial arts school when I was 10. And now that I'm looking back, what they were teaching us? And the guy was actually pretty good. I think he was a dude who I think like fought in the Korean War, I think. And I think he learned like Tang Sudo in Korea. And then he came back to Brooklyn, where I guess he was from. And he was showing us like, hey, if someone tries to kidnap you, they pick you up, he's like, bite their ear as hard as you can. That's what we're learning.
The Mike Tyson.
Yeah, just bite their ear as hard as you can. So that was my first foray into martial arts, just trying to survive,
Right.
And it's funny because I was a very, very athletic kid. I was very, very good at sports. With that said, I wouldn't consider myself tough. Like I was I was not what I would call like a natural fighter. I didn't really know how to fight. I was just very good at sports. So once I started learning how to fight, it kind of came easy to me because I was athletic. Okay. Anyway, so then I kind of stopped martial arts. I don't know whatever happened to that. He was a nice guy, the guy who was teaching us to bite people's ears. Nice guy. But then when I was 16, I was like, man, I got to learn how to fight because the neighborhood was still dangerous and you're getting kind of older. People are testing you more because you're not
Right.
10, you're like 16. So the stakes become higher. Two 10-year-olds fight, what's going to happen? But 16-year-old, you're already getting into
Yeah.
it's getting dangerous. So I went to a Kyokushin dojo, and for those who don't know, Kyokushin is, and anyone can Google it. Kyokushin, Kyokushin. Now, there's many kind of martial arts. There's kung fu, there's karate, there's taekwondo, there's jiu-jitsu, there's judo, there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there's MMA, whatever.
Right.
And everyone takes martial arts for their own reason. It's like Aikido, people might say, well, I don't really care about practical self-defense. I just like to make friends and stay in shape. Okay, that's cool. Or let's say someone else is like, no, I just want to learn how to fight. So they just go to like a professional boxing gym or whatever. So for me, I just wanted to learn how to fight. Like I didn't mind making friends. I didn't mind having a little community. I didn't mind getting in shape, but I just wanted to learn how to fight.
What was your practice of choice?
So I went to Kyokushin, this Kyokushin dojo.
Okay.
And Kyokushin is, for anyone who Googles it, that's why I spelled it. In the world of karate, it is the roughest. Period. Like, it's not even a...
Why is that?
Because if you watch a movie like The Karate Kid, it's like tag, it's like, 1 point. Kyokushin, you're trying to knock each other out cold. Period. You're fighting full contact, full force, and you are trying to knock each other out cold.
Wow.
That's the rules.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the dojo, in tournaments. Like, people are getting knocked out in the dojo all the time. In tournaments, people are just being like put in the stretcher.
It's almost like an MMA type of deal.
Similar.
Okay.
In fact, for George St. Pierre, who became a very famous MMA fighter, he has a black belt in Kyokushin.
Oh, nice.
Bas Rutten, who became a very famous MMA fighter, he has a black belt in Kyokushin. So anyway, so I did Kyokushin, and I ended up pretty good at it. And then in the early 1990s, I competed around the world in that, and I fought the best fighters. So. And I was training at one point, 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was a big part of my life in the early 90s.
Wow.
Later on, I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I now have a black belt in also. So I have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm currently training with Halak Gracie, who's one of the, 500 Gracies, but he's a really good one. So I would say that my martial arts experience had a big influence on what I understand about healing and what I teach about healing.
And why is that?
Well, two things. Number one, and I can only speak from my own experience. I can't speak for all martial artists, but I bet you a lot of martial artists have had a similar experience.
Right.
But I can't assume. But because I was fighting at a world-class level, because I was fighting the best fighters in the world in my style, because my style was a style where people are trying to knock each other out. I mean, it's like you're trying to knock the person out. You start learning about the mind, like what can you take? Like, of course, your body gets tougher as you get, hit or whatever. But if you're fighting and someone blasts you in the liver, like a great hook to the liver, or a left middle kick, or where they're clinching the knee you in the liver, can you keep that poker face? Because if you show they're hurt, if you show you're hurt and they're a good professional
they'll
fighter,
take over.
They'll finish you.
Yeah.
So, you just start learning about the mind, like, how much of it is the body, how much of it is the mind and the spirit, and understanding because this is a great example. I can read a book on Zen Buddhism, not to say that that's not good. I'm sure a book on Zen Buddhism is great. And then I could be like, man, it's really explaining the mind. Now that I read this book on Zen Buddhism, I understand the mind much better. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen. But when I'm 2 hours into an insane training session in the dojo and I feel like I can't even stand up anymore. My teacher comes behind me. They have a thing called the shinai. It's like a wooden sword. And he just like cracks you with the shinai. And you're like, you can go for 2 more hours. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, I thought my body had nothing left. But because my mind was engaged with that exchange, all of a sudden I can go for 2 more hours. So not to say that a book on Zen Buddhism isn't great. as far as understanding the mind, but I learned about the mind in an experiential way that I couldn't have gotten from a book. And
Right.
because I understand the mind much better from that, and again, I'm not saying that that's required. I'm sure there's a lot of great healers who never did martial arts and they understand the mind their own way. They might have done a lot of meditation or whatever they did. But from my path, I understood the mind on a very elite level because of the hardcore, and I'll use the word, hardcore martial arts training that I did.
Wow.
And one other thing you asked before, which I didn't get to answer, but I want to say it now. I never set out to be like a sports doctor. It was never like, I never thought, oh, I'm going to open like a sports chiropractic. Not that that's not great, but I just wanted to take care of anyone. But with that said, I have had over the years some of the best MMA fighters come to me. BJ Penn was my patient for years and years and years. Nick Diaz, Bas Rutten, who I mentioned, Hickson Gracie. I've had a lot of the most, Gilbert Melendez. I've had a lot of the most famous fighters on this planet as my patients. So
That's amazing. It's like it just naturally became that, right?
Yeah. So you kind of had mentioned that, so I didn't want to let that pass without addressing it. Yes, I've had some of the great Crone Gracie. I've had some of the greatest MMA and jiu-jitsu fighters, alive as my patients.
And I can guarantee you one thing: all of those people, they want results.
Man, we must have some psychic connection because no, seriously, about 15 years ago, I was interviewed. It was a pretty big, podcasts weren't as developed then, but it was some kind of show. They were interviewing me, and the interviewer said to me, he must have looked something up or whatever. He said, he started listing, he was reading. He's like, oh, I see. And he listed like 15 famous fighters that were my patients.
Oh, wow.
And I said, he said, why? And I said, because they all want results and that's what they get.
Yeah.
So that's funny you said
amazing,
that.
man. So, Doc, there's one thing that you mentioned about the 6 zones, right? You were talking about there's the zone that's responsible for like detoxification.
Zone 2, which is elimination.
In right now, I mean, there's a huge movement going on called Make America Healthy Again. And one of the things that we talk about in the whole MAHA movement is all of these toxins, the environmental toxins, the toxins in the food, and how all that stuff is just like stuck in us and it's causing all kinds of issues, gene expression change, disease starts to develop. So first, I want to hear your opinion about what do you think about the whole MAHA movement with what RFK Jr. is doing? And then secondly, how is everything that you're doing feed into this positive movement?
Well, here's the thing. I have a few things to say about that movement. It goes back to what I said earlier about results. Results, again, I'm all for it. I just want to say, like, what are the results? What ends up happening from it? And if America gets healthier, to use the actual slogan, great. Yeah. So that's all I can say is, like, it seems well intentioned. I don't know all the details, but from what I know, as an outsider looking in,
of course,
let's see the results. If it does make America healthy, great, or healthier, great. So that's number one. Number two, it's interesting, there's a word that we didn't mention yet, but you're a smart guy who understands health very well. So when I say this word, I'm sure, you have your own, like, you'll kind of light up, you'll have like certain things in your brain light up, and I'm sure you have thoughts on it. And the word is adaptation. Because I look at it like this. Imagine, Sam, I don't know, someone is really healthy. They're a healthy guy. And they go into a hospital where there's a lot of germs or whatever, and they're there for a few hours, but they come out, maybe they'll go home and take a shower and change their clothes. I don't know, but someone might say, like, oh, you feel I feel fine, because, like, their body's so healthy, their body adapted to all that stuff. It has really no effect on them. Right. Someone else has a very unhealthy body, very unbalanced body. They go to a hospital and they get sick. Right. Because they can adapt to it. So what I would say is, like, maybe they're spraying chemtrails and we're all breathing that crap in. Maybe the tap water is basically poisonous. And, even if you try to drink bottled water, you go to a restaurant, you order a soup, they made the soup with tap water, or you get a ginger ale, but it comes from the, the gun, and it's, it's, the little soda guns they have behind the bar. So you're kind of drinking tap water and your ginger ale, or like the ginger ale is high fructose corn. So, like, like, you're doing your best, but, like,
you can't run away from it.
Right. You're just living in this world where, or you have like a Fiji water, but even Fiji water is good, but it's in plastic, and the
Right.
plastic is in you. And even like, for example, like you at your house, Sam, when you wash your dishes in your dishwasher, you might go to Whole Foods and you buy like the natural dishwasher liquid, not like Cascade or whatever.
But you're rinsing it with the tap water.
And on top of that,
Right.
then you go eat at some nice restaurant in the back. They're washing their dishes with Cascade.
Right.
So you're eating off that plate that was like with Cascade. My point is this: I'm agreeing with you about all these toxins, but I would say just like the person who goes to the hospital and like they're fine because their body's so balanced and can adapt. I would say that someone whose body, I would even go and say mind, someone whose body and mind is balanced. I'm not saying it's ideal to be sucking in chemtrails and drinking tap water and plastic and
Right.
all this crap. But I bet you they can live a long, healthy life anyway.
Right.
Again, is it ideal? No. I mean, you fly, you have to go through that thing at the airport where they're like x-raying you and stuff. I doubt that's a positive experience for your body. But I bet you, Sam takes care of himself, has a healthy body and a healthy mind. And Sam's doing his best, but Sam still eats at the restaurant where they wash their dishes with Cascade, and Sam flies somewhere and he goes through that stupid X-ray.
Right.
But one day someone's like, "Damn, Sam's 96 years old. He looks great," because
Yeah.
like your body can adapt to that crap and eliminate the garbage. So
Right.
that's what I would say about
I'm happy that you actually said that because
that. You're going to live to at least 96. Okay.
Well, I'm hoping about, according to these other biohackers, maybe about 150.
Let's go for
200.
we said 150,
150,
150. Okay, let's 150. Let's go.
According to Brian Johnson,
Let's give
he's
him
not even
let's
going to
give him
die.
160. I think 150 is selling him short. Let's go for 160.
Yeah,
160
see.
plus. This way we have the
That means
possibility.
everybody in this room has to be around to actually.
Right. But 160 plus. This way
Yeah.
we don't want to limit it to 160.
Exactly. But no, I'm happy that you say that because some people get so focused on I gotta eliminate this, I gotta eliminate and I get it. But at the end of the day, you can't just run away from these toxins. They're in our environment. So one of the things that you do is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is you're gonna enhance their detox pathways in
Totally.
their body.
Going too.
And that's extremely important. And even on the functional medicine side, it's like you're not going to get rid of all the toxins. So, what are some of the things that we can do to enhance those detox pathways so you can get those toxins out of your system? And it can be something as basic as doing an infrared sauna, right? To help, sweat out some of those toxins. So, what you're doing is something that I would say more people have to do more of, right? And go through those processes to enhance those detox pathways.
I would agree. And when you're talking about detox pathways, as you phrased it, there's kind of like an easy checklist. I'd say on the easy checklist, 1, getting their body balanced. If it was coming to me or one of my students and specifically getting zone 2 balanced, great. But let's say that they never met me or one of my students. They just go to some acupuncturist, but the acupuncturist balances their body out. A balanced body will eliminate toxins well. So 1
Right.
would be getting their body balanced. 2 would be eating good food. Because if you have let's say some certain fruits or vegetables, it helps your body eliminate. So you have good, get your body balanced somehow, eat well, exercise. Because when you move, you sweat, and that's a nice way for toxin elimination. Also, when you exercise, your abs become stronger, which is good for your elimination. Rest, when you sleep at night, your body repairs a lot of damage done during the day to it, physically and mentally, actually.
Right.
So get the body balanced, eat well, move well, sleep well. And I think also trying to, if someone can kind of move worry toward hope, and move fear toward faith, and move hate toward love,
Mindset.
and move lack of forgiveness to forgiveness, and move greed toward kindness, and selfishness toward generosity, that is good for the cells in your body, and that will help your body eliminate well. Because I bet you there are people out there, in fact, I don't bet, I know there are people out there who are so full of worry and negative emotions that makes them constipated. They can't even do the most basic kind of elimination. But them just relaxing and going toward the more positive emotions, that will help heal their body.
Absolutely. Stress will kill you. I
Right,
mean,
so
stress will cause adrenal fatigue, all kinds of stuff. So, obviously with your background in martial arts, I would only assume that you're a believer in meditation.
Well, good question. So it's funny because Kyokushin, the kind of martial art that I really came up in, they do have we meditate the beginning and end of class, every class. Um, I like meditation for myself. I like it. And with that said, as we know, there's many paths to success. There's probably someone out there who never meditates, but they pray, or that's whatever. Right. So there's many paths to success, but I do like meditation. I find it very helpful, actually. And again, my only advice for the novice meditator is do it in a relaxed way. Don't torture yourself. I think some people are like, oh, I read this meditation book and it says the best meditation is between 4 and 6 a.m. So they set their alarm at 4 a.m. They're freaking miserable. They're cold. They're freaking miserable. They're sitting there. They hate it, but they're just like doing it, but they're tense. Their shoulders are up. They're not relaxed. And they're like, oh, I'm meditating every morning, but they're miserable. Yeah. I would rather say, if you want to meditate, just take 5 minutes a day if you want. Just get into this is an important word, relaxed, a relaxed.
Breathe.
Right, a relaxed position physically, a relaxed mental, just relax. Right. And now that you're relaxed and you're in a comfortable way, just close your eyes and just relax for 5 minutes. And that could be your daily meditation. It's a lot better than torturing yourself at 4 a.m. every day. Right. Now, by the way, if there's someone who can wake up at 4 a.m. and be relaxed, good. I'm not telling you not to meditate at 4 a.m. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you're going to relax, if you're going to meditate, do it in a relaxed fashion.
Yeah. So, Doc, as we wrap up here, all right, if there's someone listening or watching the podcast that really resonates with your message on your healing techniques and they want more, right? What is one thing you can leave them off with?
Well, I would say this. There's two types of listeners who would fit into what you talked about. One would be a doctor or a healer. Another would be a layperson who's just, interested in health. I would say if there is a doctor or healer listening, whether it's a chiropractor or any other type of doctor or healer, an energy worker or massage therapist, and they want to learn what I'm doing, they just go to zoneschoolofhealing.com. So it's zoneschoolofhealing.com. They can sign up for the online course right there. And the basic course itself is 60 hours of me teaching them online. I have advanced courses.
60 hours?
Yeah, I have advanced courses with 500 hours. But my most basic course is 60 hours. You can do 5 minutes a day or an hour a day or whatever you want. They get lifetime access when they join. And they can also click on live seminars, and they can come take a seminar in person if they'd like to too.
So that's hands-on stuff.
Yes,
at the seminar?
Yes. Okay. So that's for the doctors and healers, chiropractors, etc. Let's say someone's listening who's like, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a plumber. I'm not joining your school, but I just want to be healthier. On the same website, zoneschoolofhealing.com, there's a directory of my certified people. There's 3 levels of certification. Nice. There's certified, which means, they're pretty into it. There's advanced certified, which means they're more into it. And then there's mastermind certified, which is like my highest level students.
How many of those are there?
50.
Okay.
Out of the 1,500. So you can go to the website and you can find on the directory someone who can help you.
Awesome, man. Amazing. And Doc, where can people find you?
They can always contact me through zoneschoolofhealing.com, which is the main, Zone School website. And I do have an Instagram, which is at Zone School of Healing. And between the two of them, they'll be able to catch up with me.
Amazing. Doc, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast. And I'm going to have you check my head and everything. We'll keep the cameras recording, and this will be a little bit of behind the scenes so people can watch it. But guys, make sure that you click on the links down below. Follow Doc, here on the social media. Make sure you share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you for the next one.